Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, 28th of May, 2022. I'll be reading out of Zechariah chapter 12 and Zechariah chapter 14 and connecting some dots for the two chapters. I'm asking everybody to like, share, and subscribe to the Prophets of Awakening channel. Hit the notification button if you can. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by our Lord and host, the Lord of hosts, who is our Redeemer. Shalom and welcome everyone to the Prophets of Awakening channel, and welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, the Psalms, and then current events and a little need to know information, and we'll go into some Q&A. Then we're going to the reading of the scriptures, which is Zechariah. Okay, so this moment of silence is for our Creator Yahweh and His right hand man, the Lord of hosts, and all that they're doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance from where we were scattered. So, oh Lord, we come before Thee at this hour on your day that you have given unto us for rest, your Sabbath, praising you and honoring you because of your position, both in heaven and upon the earth, the position in which the Creator, Yahweh, have given unto Thee. Through your spirit and counsel, Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and Redeemer. We are thankful for all that you have done, and we are eagerly searching the scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. Lord, I pray to Thee that you continue to let the light shine down upon us in spirit and in truth. And we love you. We seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides Thee to redeem us. We see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay. We read a psalm. Okay. I'm going to read Psalm 37. Okay. It's a true state of the wicked. It's a psalm of David. It says, fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord, do good, so that thou may dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit the way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger, and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for the evildoer shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow, to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man have is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil times, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. but the wicked shall perish. The enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they be consumed away. The wicked borrow and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hands. I have been young, and now I am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful, and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil, and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading themselves like a greenbay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble. And the Lord shall help them and deliver them. And he shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because he trusts in him. Okay? That was Psalms 37. It's true state of the wicked. The Psalm of David. Any comments on that?
Wow, shalom. One of my favorites. We always think that the wicked is winning, right? But
Right,
we have to understand that it only lasts for a short time. It may seem like a long time to us, but it's only for a short time. And we
right,
have to understand that the Lord's blessing, lasts forever of the
right,
righteous. So the wicked is going to be cut off soon.
right,
Yes, yes. So, don't be jealous, fret not.
right, right. Yeah, right. The thing is, that I learned is uh, to not focus on it. Once you don't focus on it, you go, he just told us what's going to happen to him. So it seems as if it's not going to happen because you're focusing on it. But no sooner than you put it on the shelf, then you look up and let it disappear, like he said.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get this right quick. So long, sister. Okay. We're gonna go to current events. You got any current events? Anybody got any current event?
I just have a little small one. I know last night on Clubhouse we was talking about the summer blackouts. And
Right.
so I was reading an article this morning. They was talking about the blackouts in that's gonna possibly be happening in Texas.
Right.
And we know Texas gets very hot.
Right.
So they were saying that for them to, keep the thermostats set at 78, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, wait until after a certain time, I think it was like evening time, 7 or 8 p.m., to use their large appliances like the washer, dryer, dishwashers, things like that.
Right.
And then they was, warning them, letting them know, have an emergency plan in place
Right.
when
Yeah.
this happens. So we can expect for it to happen because they're already, warning us. but it's our job to pay attention to those warnings and be prepared.
Right, right. Yeah, I had a class on that. I think it maybe been a couple of years ago. We got a video on YouTube about a lot of people don't know it, but America, it's got two grids, power grids. Texas got its own grid.
Right. Yes.
Then the rest of America got another grid. A lot of people don't know that. Is there something?
Right. They were talking. Yeah. They was talking about that grid.
Yeah.
And they were saying, like, especially San Antonio area.
Right. Exactly.
That's something.
Oh yeah.
And the fires in Mexico seems to be getting worse. Plus, they have a storm headed their way also.
Okay.
Agate, which is lingering over South Mexico. So Mexico is getting hit hard here lately.
Right. Okay.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Well, it looks like we have more trouble on the horizon. We've already been talking about inflation and how it is literally destroying lives, right? Right now, we're talking about rotting fruit and spoiled vegetables on top of other things because of an interruption in the supply chain. It is being said that Texas just made the supply chain even worse. You see, they are afraid that some human trafficking is going on down at the border. Now, I'm not saying that that's not an issue because it is, right? But there has got to be a better way to deal with these things without interrupting the supply chain, especially when you know that there are trucks that are moving millions of pounds and millions of dollars worth of produce on a daily basis. You got to know this. They are saying that some trucks are being delayed for more than 30 hours. That's enough for food to just be destroyed. Anyway, there is a very detailed report on what's going on down at the border. Very detailed. We've already had so many troubles and woes for the past couple of years, ever since, this pandemic thing and all these other things that are happening. There are already food shortages. You don't need something like this adding to the bunch. Anyway, take a listen at this report. And of course, I will be right back with some additional commentary. Take a listen.
A week-long protest by Texas government. Greg Abbott against President Biden's recent immigration policy reached a resolution on Friday, but the gridlock it created has resulted in hundreds of millions of lost dollars and delays in shipments of everything from avocados to automobile parts that will have a longer-term impact. On Friday, Abbott reversed course on an order he put in place last week that required lengthier enhanced safety inspections of commercial vehicles entering Texas. The efforts, he said, were to help stop the flow of illegal contraband and human trafficking. Abbott's move, which Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller criticized as political theater, ultimately created a logjam of trucks between the U.S. and its largest goods trading partner. Vegetable producers say their produce is spoiling in idling trucks, and they are losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Mexico is a critical supplier of vehicles, automotive parts, electrical machinery, chemicals, and agricultural goods. Nearly $9 billion of fresh produce crosses the Texas border from Mexico each year, said Dante L. Galizzi, CEO and president of the Texas International Produce Association. And for the past week, that produce has been held hostage, with businesses and goods being used as bargaining chips, Galizzi said. What used to be a routine border crossing turned into a 30-hour wait for some trucks. Meanwhile, the fruits and vegetables in those trucks spoiled, leaving some produce department shelves sparse or empty in advance of the holiday weekend, he said. It could take a week or longer, up to probably 3 weeks, before the supply chain realigns, Galizzi said. In recent days, Abbott has met with the governors of the 4 Mexican states that border Texas and reached agreements to cease the increased checks. On Friday, after meeting with the governor of Tamaulipas, Abbott said the commercial checks would end immediately. The financial pain was a necessary consequence to get the public to insist that their government leaders take action to curb illegal immigration, Abbott said. One thing after another. Losses to fruit and vegetable producers are estimated to be more than $240 million, said Lance Jungmeyer, president of the Fresh Produce Association of the Americas. Consumers will also pay a price as producers look to recoup some of their losses and supplies run low. Americans can expect to spend more on strawberries, avocados, and asparagus as soon as this weekend, with the impacts being felt the heaviest in the Midwest and Northeast, Jungmeyer said. This is not just a localized issue, said Jerry Pacheco, president and chief executive officer of the Border Industrial Association in New Mexico. It's going to hit you in St. Louis or up in Seattle. We're connected to a global supply chain. It's a bad time to be adding this to consumers' pockets to pay out their pocketbook, Jungmeyer said. At El Corral Supermarket, a Mexican specialty grocery store and meat market in Stephenville, Texas, co-owner Santos Avila was warned of shortages by his beer suppliers because of glass that got delayed coming into the U.S. from Mexico. It's just one thing after another, Avila said, noting the price increases and product shortages that have occurred over the past 2 years due to pandemic-induced supply chain disruptions. At places like Luna's Mexican restaurant in St. Francis, Wisconsin, which have yet to see any price hikes as a result of the delayed shipments from Mexico, the mere prospect of any delays or shortages for staples like avocados, tomatoes and limes causes worry, said owner Jenny Bustillos, who runs the restaurant with her daughter, Brittany Sexton. Luna's
Any comments on that?
We keep seeing over and over again, it's best that we start learning how to grow our own fruits and vegetables. I mean, the plans that they have for us is not going to stop. We got to get into growing our own. And then another thing, we're not seeing either how much we depend on other places, for our products here,
Right. Yeah, right. That's what happened. We became consumers, and we used to ship out everything when back in the day, America had
Right.
And then we flipped the script. Let me see what he got to say. It says, if Biden would protect the U.S. border like he's protecting the Ukraine border, Abbott and the other border governors have asked so many times to do something, but no help from Biden administration. Right. Okay, let me get this other one. These new immigrants, new voters for the
And we got to look at it. It's not affecting the rich.
Right.
It's affecting us.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's a systematic plan.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Got another one right here.
And what is being talked about at the World Economic Forum. So I'm sure you've been watching a lot of the sessions that have been coming out of Ukraine. I'm sorry, out of it's hard to keep them straight. But out of Davos, seeing the different commentary. Yesterday, we featured the story here about Henry Kissinger.
Yes.
Henry Kissinger, of course, who is a warmonger and who is responsible for the deaths of millions of people, came out and was like a dove yesterday at Davos. Basically, hey, the only way for this to end is for Ukraine to give up territory to the Russians. That's it. You're done. Give up territory to the Russians and hand over the Eastern Donbass region. Don't even fight over it. Make sure that you're not going to invade Crimea anytime soon. And that let's let bygones be bygones. That was his assessment. Well, then today we have George Soros. George Soros from the World Economic Forum in Davos coming out and saying that civilization may not survive Putin's war. And I have a few quotes from George Soros here, if I can pull them up here. I believe I do.
So we're just going to call this apocalyptic because the tone is, well, it's too bad we have to have this war. And, it may kill us all. Yeah.
So here is George Soros. Sorry, I didn't have the clip in there. That could be the end of our civilization, he said, insisting that we must mobilize all our resources to bring the war to an end early end. And I can't read today. The best and perhaps only way to preserve our civilization is to defeat Putin as soon as possible, he added. Okay, so what he's calling for, of course, now is the total destruction of Putin. And we've heard this from Western leaders, by the way. We've heard this from President Biden, who said this guy can't continue. And so people are questioning Sleepy Joe. They're like, what's going on here? Are you literally calling for regime change? Like you're calling for the overthrow of this leader? We heard from Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, who, God knows, I've interviewed that guy a million times, and he will always go where the prevailing winds are. And Senator Lindsey Graham said, we basically need to take this guy out. This only ends with us taking this guy out. So now you have the World Economic Forum. You have George Soros, billionaire George Soros, who funds just about every political movement you can think of, right? Saying our civilization will not survive, that we need to eliminate Putin. And this comes at an interesting time because today we got video of these Ukrainian soldiers in the Donbass region who are basically saying we don't have any weapons, and we're not going to fight with these weapons, with this lack of weapons. I'm just going to play a little bit of audio here because I know we have some of you who prefer to hear the actual audio. So I'm going to play a little bit of it here for some context, so you know that I'm not talking over them.
Ми, бійці Черкаської тероборони, з місцем дислокації в місті Сміла, з невстановлених причин була переведена до Луганської тероборони. На даний час дислокуємося в Донецькій області, записуємо це звернення для роз'яснення ситуації, яка склалася в нашому батальйоні. 22.05.
So they are
Yeah, so these people right here, this what you're looking at right here on the screen is this where Esau, who is in the land right now, in the land of Israel, came back in 1948, a false prophecy. He came back back to the land that they had stole back in 143 BC. So, but now it's a prophecy. I'm gonna go into that after this video with, but it's a prophecy on them that he's gonna destroy them. In the land of Israel. So they trying to get out of the land of Israel now. They trying to, what this is all about right here, this Ukraine war, they trying to get their land back, or part of it where they can return there. Kissinger, George Soros, them all Zionists, Edomite Zionists. And they trying to get out of there. They're leaving out of there by the hundreds because they see the signs that their time coming to an end. They looking at it. So they trying to get their land back, or get an area of their land back so they can return back to where they came from. Trying to avoid prophecy. So let me get back over here.
Saying we are Ukrainian fighters from the, I'm going to turn this audio down here just so you can hear me. We are Ukrainian, and I'm quoting now from the transcript from these soldiers. We are Ukrainian fighters from the Cherkasy Territorial Defense Battalion, and I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure someone will correct me. Cherkasy Territorial Defense Battalion. We are currently in Donetsk. We have been given orders, but we don't have any heavy weaponry. We were never provided any heavy weaponry. After our enduring battle, our first battle, we have many wounded and dead. We refuse to fight under these conditions. That's what they are saying. You can see reading from a transcript right there. That's what these individuals are saying. So reading from this transcript, pretty interesting to say that we are not going to fight under these conditions. These are our wounded and dead. We don't have any heavy weaponry. And that's why there's been this big push for heavy weapons, right?
Yes.
We saw today, this Scott Ritter sent us this. And here is some video of, let me pull up this video. This is video today of howitzers arriving. So here is new video of howitzers arriving. And Scott asks this question. Now, Scott, of course, former weapons inspector in Iraq. He was the guy that basically said, hey, there are no weapons of mass destruction. And he says that this, you have to wonder, he says, why all of these weapons are going into Ukraine right now. These are, he says, these are Excalibur is a true one-shot, one-kill munitions. Thousands have been provided to Ukraine, according to Scott, by the U.S.
What does that mean? One shot, one
that
kill.
These are
single use.
And again, I'm not a military expert, but these, according to the weapons experts that we speak to, they have communication GPS equipment installed. They have antennas for measuring the, as he says, the muzzle velocity of the projectile of these Excalibur rounds. And Scott Ritter says the Excalibur is a true one-shot, one-kill munition. Thousands have been provided to Ukraine by the U.S. and Canada, he says. The Ukrainian army spent weeks in Germany learning how to employ this weapon. It's also important, as Philip says, it's very accurate, right? And Scott says, look, make no mistake about it. Like these, like people are going to be absolutely destroyed. Scores of Russians will be killed. And he says that's an inescapable fact. And here's what Scott has to say further about what's been happening in this region and to why the Russians are dismantling these defenses piece by piece by piece. So I guess if you pull all of this together, you could say this is over for Ukraine unless these heavy weapons are allowed to arrive and George Soros gets his wish, which is that Western powers literally just pour as many heavy weapons as they possibly can into this region. We got word today in the Black Sea that there could be Western powers could be coming together to move towards the Black Sea. Russia says if you do that, that's an escalation. I wouldn't do that. I would absolutely not move into this region. Absolutely don't come into Odessa. We showed you all the mines that were there. So here's Scott Ritter on exactly how the Russian army has dismantled the Ukrainian army piece by piece by piece. Listen to Scott.
Russia's achieving this. It's masterful. Anybody that says it's not doesn't know what they're talking about. It's a stunning military victory that I believe will be studied for some time now. Not too many people understand what the truth is on the ground there. The Russians are going up against a defensive line that is as developed and fortified as any that's existed in the history of modern war. We're talking about interlocking defenses, concrete reinforced bunkers, trenches, artillery with pre-registered fires. The whole works is there, and the Russians are dismantling it piece by piece by piece. And they're maximizing enemy casualties, minimizing their own.
So minimizing their own. So he says, he's curious when he asked this question, when Scott asked this question, is like, how are these weapons allowed to arrive in Ukraine? How are these things even able to be there? Like, why aren't they destroyed yet? And maybe by the time, maybe by tomorrow they will be, because we have other reports.
Because if we can see it, so can the Russian government, clearly.
Right. So we see these things coming in.
I want to go back to when I said, what does that mean? One shot, one kill. Philip clarifies that it does not mean it's single use. It can be used repeatedly. It is just extremely accurate and deadly.
Okay, good. This is why, and we are not military experts, although we do have family members in the military and we do have plenty of military sources here on the show, but we don't fire guns here on a regular basis.
Okay, so like I was saying, what do you? Let me get this right quick. Says it's been reported that Ukraine is losing the war, and many of their soldiers are trying to lead and not fight, but are being killed by their own generals. Right. So what you're witnessing is it's nothing new under the sun. Like I said, they want you to think that Esau has been done away with, but when you understand the fourth beast, that's out of the four beasts that Daniel talked about, the fourth beast is Esau. He joined with the Japhet, in particular with Chechen, which is the Romans, and they became one nation. And so they the ones behind the scenes. It's a woman controlling the fourth beast, and that woman is, like I said, Esau stole the land of Israel. That's the whore. The real woman, Israel, is the Israelites. They've been scattered all over the whole world, but it's a whore that came in through the auspices of the Maccabees. And they make you think that they rededicated the temple and all that, but the scriptures don't say that. The scripture says in Daniel 9:25, 26, and 27 that Israel was going to get destroyed at the end of the third beast, which was by Antioch Epiphanes, and they got ran out of the land and they fled into Africa. The people that fled into Egypt, the so-called seven churches, and the people that's over in Europe, the seven churches that's in Europe, is Edomites that was kicked out of the land in 70 AD. And so, like I said before, when you go to Malachi and read it, he said that they told him that they're going to return. So they concocted all these wars, especially World War I and II, for the one specific reason. They was finding a way to get back and get control of the land of Israel, because through those crusades, the Muslims and the European people had devastated the land of Israel. They had control of it, and these Edomites was working behind the scenes through these wars and making agreements. And finally, they made the Balfour Agreement, right at the end of the World War II, and then they orchestrated this so-called return of the Jews in 1948. But it's a prophecy on Israel. That's what I'm going to show you right here, right quick. It's a prophecy on Israel, on Esau, that he's going to be judged. And so, start out with it. It's in. We kind of talked about this last night a little bit on stream on Clubhouse. So, if you go to Obadiah right quick, and it says, let me get it. Obadiah says in verse 5 says, if these came to thee, it's being conveyed to Israel. It was given Obadiah to convey it to Israel. So it says, if these came to thee, the robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Right? Would they not leave some grapes? Would they not leave? It says, okay, let me read it again. If thieves came to thee, robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? So we know Israel is a vineyard. That's one of the illustrations of Israel being a vineyard. So the men of Israel is the grapes. And so he says that if you just came to steal because you needed something, you stole what you needed and left. But they didn't leave no grapes. They wanted all the Israelites. They wanted them out because they wanted the land. So verse 6 says, who is the perpetrator? Verse 6 says, how are the things that Esau sought out? How are his hidden things sought up? So he's the culprit behind all these atrocities. He's behind the transatlantic slave trade, all that. He's behind it. And even right here in verse 10, I'm gonna start at verse 10. It says, without violence against thy brother, Jacob. So Jacob ain't got but one brother. Esau had supposedly had two sons. Esau is the brother. So he says, violence against thy brother, Jacob, shame shall cover thee. Thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, In the day the strangers carried away captive his forces. Foreigners entered into the gates, cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou was one of them. So these lots right here is the same lots when they came into the land of Israel with Joshua. When they set up at Shiloh, and then from Shiloh, they divided the land up by the 12 tribes. And Esau wanted that land. So when Antioch Epiphanes came, he took full advantage of it. He stole the land. So we're going to keep reading. 12. But thou should not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Thou should not have entered into the gates of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou should not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. So that's the land of Israel was given to Abraham and his descendants. They came from Egypt and they occupied that land and possessed it. So all that area and everything on it was their substance. Esau took it right here. So 14, this Obadiah, verse 14, neither should thou have stood in the crosshairs to cut off those that did escape. Neither should thou have delivered up those that did remain. So the Most High always would leave a remnant. Every time he cast them out, he'd leave a small remnant there for them to know that he's going to bring them back. So this is what was just conveyed in verse 5. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? So he's saying the remnant. Why would they bother with the remnant? If you came, you wanted their possessions, you just got what you needed and left. But he wants the land. So he made sure he killed the remnant. He didn't want no Israelites there. So he killed the remnant. And that's the problem the Most High got with him. So what we witnessing in the world today is the Most High making good on his promises that he's going to regather us and bring us back to the land. But they there. And so how you cleanse the land is the people that shedded blood, innocent blood of Israelites in the land have to be judged in the land. That's what we see manifesting itself right now. And they know that. They have our records. So they trying to get out of there. They're trying to get back to their homeland to get away from the judgment. And guess where their homeland is? It's Ukraine. That's what that's all about. So who is Kissinger and who is George Soros? Zionists. They tied to the Rothschilds and all them. They got down to all the money of the world's wealth. They done stored it up. And they've been dictating everything that happened on the planet. And so they brought Hitler on the scene. Then when Hitler done what they wanted him to do and he turned on them, they doing the same thing they doing now. They're rounding up all the military might that they in possession of to cut him off. So we see the same thing happening now with Russia. These Zionists coming together to try to cut Putin off. There ain't nothing new under the sun. And the objective is to get Ukraine. That's why Kissinger made the point. He made a statement. Down to 150 years old, can't see, but he made a statement about the only thing that's going to solve this Ukrainian war and bring it to an end is Ukraine give up part of their land because they want it. They're trying to get out of the land of Israel. So let's look at that. I'll be reading some of this later on in the Bible reading, but I'm gonna go there. So I'm in Obadiah. I'm still in Obadiah, right? So it says in this part of the judgment, it says that Israel's ultimate triumph, right? And it says upon Mount Zion. So in the land of Israel, upon Mount Zion shall be delivered. There shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possession. So they're gonna regain what was given to our forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what we're witnessing. The forces of the Gentiles being redirected back to us. So verse 18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph flame, and the house of Esau stubble. See that? So a flame of fire and fire itself don't want to be no stubble, don't want to be nowhere around it, because it's gonna burn it up. Just like putting a match in a gallon of gas. So Esau the stubble, and they shall kindle in them, devour them, and there shall not be remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken. So none of them gonna be remaining. So what's going on? Well, we just read in Obadiah. He didn't want none of the Israelites to be remaining. So he executed judgment on the remnant of Israel when Antiochus Epiphanes came and killed the remnant and stole the land. So our God is a God of recompense. So it's none of them going to be remaining when it's all said and done. We just read that in Psalms 37. Fret not, because they're going to be just like a green bay tree. You're going to look up and it ain't going to be nothing else. You're going to wipe it out. So this is what we're witnessing right now, real time, right now, in May 2028, 2022. They ain't that's what we see happening. They're trying to avoid prophecy. So let's look at it. Joel says right here in chapter 2. The Most High said that in Ezekiel 37, he's going to resurrect all our forefathers out of their graves, and they're going to be like the angels. I'm going to read that in a minute, but I'm going to read this right here. So chapter 2 says, blow your trumpet in Zion. So this trumpet is a trumpet of war. Sound it along in my holy mountain, and let the inhabitants of the land tremble. Esau there. See that? Let them tremble. For the day of the Lord cometh. It is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess. A day of clouds of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountain. A great people and strong that have not ever been alike. Neither shall be any more after it, even to the year of many generations. A fire devoured before him. We just read, he told you, Jacob gonna be a flame, a fire, and Joseph gonna be a flame. So it says, a fire devoured before them, behind them a flame burning. See that? That's both of them right there. Jacob and Esau, and Ephraim and Joseph. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses. As horsemen shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on top of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoured the stubble. We just read who the stubble is, Esau. As a strong people set in battle array. It's the army right here in Ezekiel 37. Before their faces, the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men, and shall climb the walls like men of war, and they shall march everyone on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust in another, and they shall walk everyone in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Right? That's because they receive immortal bodies. I'm gonna read that in a minute. They shall run to and fro in the city, and they shall run upon the walls, and they shall climb up upon the houses, and they shall enter in at the windows like a thief. Right? So what they're doing, they looking for the inhabitants of Esau. They in the land. They come in to bring judgment on the people that's in the land of Israel. That's why they're on top of the mountain, running on top of the buildings and running there. Well, they're looking for the inhabitants to get rid of them. We just read it in Joel, in Obadiah, he says right here. Okay. He says, verse 18, Obadiah. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau stubble. And they shall kindle in them Esau and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. For the Lord has spoken. That's what they're looking for. All of them. Get rid of them. That's the purpose of this army. Okay? So that's what we're witnessing right now with this Ukrainian war and all that. Esau trying to divert judgment. So I'm gonna read, like I said, I'm gonna read this Zechariah 12 and 14 later, but I'm gonna read couple of verses out of chapter 12 to make sense of what I just showed. So Zechariah, very quick, Zechariah chapter 12. I'm read chapter 12. So this the future deliverance of Jerusalem. So this army in Ezekiel 37 is what's going to deliver the land of Israel and break this 25 to 3,000 year old captivity we've been in. So he says in verse 7, the Lord shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day, here we go. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. We just read it. And he that is feeble among them shall be as David, in the house of David, which is all the kings that ever ruled in Israel that's dead at this point. They're going to get resurrected. And the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. So when the angel of the Lord in Ezekiel, Exodus chapter 3, Moses came to the mountain, and the bush fire lit on the bush, and the bush was not consumed. It tells you the angel of the Lord was there. So when he resurrected our forefathers in Ezekiel 37, they're going to be as the angel of the Lord. Let me read it again. 8. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as the angel of the Lord before them. Flame of fire devoured. Joseph, the 10 tribes, Ephraim and the 10 tribes, Judah, Levi and Benjamin, the southern kingdom, is going to be a fire. Joseph going to be a flame. That's what it's talking about right here. And they're going to liberate, free up Jerusalem. And our perpetrators is there all along, waiting. He didn't set them up. He brought them back. So let's look at that right quick, then I'll read some of these questions or some of these comments. So like I said before, they sitting there like sitting ducks waiting. So he says in 14, chapter 14 of Zechariah, verse 15, and so shall it be the plague of the horse and of the mule and of the camel and of the ass and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents and in these plagues. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all these nations which came against Jerusalem, they even go up from year to year. Let me back up. It says 11. And the men shall dwell in it, and there shall not be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away. See that? Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes of their tongue, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouths. So what's going on? Fire. They're coming head on with a consuming fire, and it's gonna burn them up. We just wasn't reading it right, because they didn't trick us off with the understanding of it. But there it is right there. It's ain't nothing else you can get out of that. It says not no nuclear device, but 12. And this shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord shall smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes of their tongue, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouths. So what's going on? Fire. They're coming head on with a consuming fire, and it's gonna burn them up. We just wasn't reading it right, because they didn't trick us off with the understanding of it. But there it is right there. It's ain't nothing else you can get out of that. It says not no nuclear device, but 12. And this shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord shall smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. The fire. Then he came head on with fire. Right? Same fire that came and delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Same fire that was on the bush in Ezekiel, Exodus chapter 3. And the fire that Elijah called down on Mount Carmel. Same fire. Okay, so let me read some of these comments. Okay. So what's up, Wesley? So it's in that day, is that 1,000-year day? I would say that that's the day of the Lord. I think I got a video on the Prophet Awakening where it's more than one day of the Lord. Every time he comes, Israel has been into captivities, like 13 different captivities because of their disobedience to the Lord of hosts. And every time he goes to deliver them, that's a day of the Lord. So it's different than 1,000 years. But day of the Lord is 1,000 years. Let me give you an example. Haggai. So they're getting ready to come out of Babylon. I'm in Haggai chapter 2, verse 20. And again, when the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 4th and 20th day, see that it's a day, it's a regular day. In the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 4th and 20th day of the month. So it's a regular day. Speak unto Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, king of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the thrones of the kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow their chariots, and those that ride in them, and the horses and the riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. In that day, see that, said the Lord of hosts, I will take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, son of Shealtiel, and said the Lord, and I will make thee a signet, for I have chosen thee, said the Lord. So we see the same thing happening again right now. That we coming upon that day when he's going to do all this right here. He's going to deliver us from here. We're going to shut down all this that these people have set up. And he's going to shut it down. Okay. I hope that makes some sense. So let me see what she's saying right here. Okay. What's up, Mike? Shalom. That's what is. I always believed in Zechariah 14 that it was a nuclear war. Right. Well, you can equate it to a nuclear war. Let me go in a little deeper on that. So I'm in Second Ezra. Second Ezra. Let me get it right quick. Give me a minute. Okay, I had read and showed you where in Isaiah 66 it says that he went and got he went and delivered a shout went to Jerusalem in Isaiah 66 and 5, and the shout from the Lord of hosts went to Jerusalem, and it went there because that's where David buried it, and he promised David he's gonna resurrect him. So before he raised up the whole house of Israel, the army in Ezekiel 37, he had to raise David up first. So here go right here. It says, this the man that came by the sea. It says, and it came about after 7 days that in the night I dreamed a dream, this Ezra. And behold, the wind arose out from the sea, so that it stirred up all its waves. And I looked, and behold, the wind brought out of the heart of the sea something like the figure of a man. And this the man child in Isaiah 66. This man flew with the clouds of heaven, and wherever he turned his face to look, everything that was seen by him trembled. And wherever his voice went from his mouth, all who heard his voice melted. Same thing we just read in Zechariah. Melted as wax melts when it feels the fire, right? And after that I looked, and behold, a new multitude of men gathered together from the four winds of heaven to make war upon the man who had come up out of the sea. Now here we go. So this David. And I looked, and behold, he called himself out of a great mountain and flew upon it. But I sought to see the region or place from which the mountain had been called, and I could not. And after that I looked, and behold, all who gathered together against him to fight with him were much afraid, but dared to fight. And behold, when he saw the onslaught of the multitude that approached, he did not raise his hand or hold his sword or any weapon of war, right? But I saw only how he sent out his mouth, what looked like a flood of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and from his tongue he sent forth the storms of sparks. These were all mixed together, the flood of fire, the flaming breath, the mighty storm, and it fell upon the onslaught of the multitude that was to fight. And here we go. Same thing right here. This line upon line with Ezekiel 14. And it says, and it fell upon the onslaught of the multitude which was ready to fight and burned them all up. So that suddenly there was nothing to be seen of the countless multitude but the dust of their ashes and the smell of smoke. Same thing. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that made some sense, bro. Okay, so yeah. Let me go back over here and get out of this. Let me see. Yeah, so that's like I said, I'm gonna go back and read Zechariah 12 and 14 for the Bible reading. So yeah, with that we have Henry Kissinger and George Soros. They were Zionists. It was a group of Zionists that orchestrated the whole thing with the with Israel coming back in 1948 when they had the agreement with Great Britain and they behind the scenes I think the Oslo, I might be saying an Oslo agreement, where they ended up receiving the land of Israel. They made an agreement, and they was able to occupy the land of Israel, and they returned in 1948. So, and here goes something else I got right here. This is I mean.
And I want you to follow me very closely here. So the boundaries that have been keeping us from trading with each other are melting away. You'll be able to establish yourself in one place and spread like wildfire throughout the continent. But the reality on the ground is Africa does not have the expertise that is needed to build the Africa that we want. That's a fact. The children of Africa in the diaspora, starting with those who are descendants of the formerly enslaved, going back 400 years ago, the brain drain out of Africa has really left Africa in a very bad place. Now picture this situation now. The boundaries are all melting away. Guess what? Now that Cape to Cairo highway can be built, the question is, who is going to build it? Massive commercial farms are going to be opened up. The question is, who is going to own them? New airports, roads, hospitals, schools. Who's going to build them? Because the children who need to build their Africa, the children who own the minerals and Africa's wealth are in the diaspora. Are they ready to stand up and take the place that is their name? My findings are the children of Africa are still fast asleep and too busy running away from Africa. This is what's going to happen, my brothers and sisters. The Chinese, they're already in Africa, but they're getting ready to double up. The Europeans have been in Africa, they're getting ready to double up. Africa is going to become a first world. The question is, who is going to take it to become a first world? Is it the Chinese? Is it the Europeans? Or is it going to be you and I, my brothers and sisters?
Memory foam was a big upgrade on old.
Yeah, she was posing questions about who's going to build it. Well, looking at prophecy, we see who's going to build it. He's going to be taking us back. So let me read something right here. Yeah, you know, that's all I can do is go off of what was conveyed to us as Israelites by our forefathers, the prophets, and all that. So I'm in Isaiah 66. She asked the question, who's going to build it? Let's look at it. So it says in Isaiah chapter 60, he says, and like I said, everybody with their eyes open and their ears, open, they can hear and you can see all this stuff is manifesting itself. He says in Isaiah chapter 60, it's the future glory of Zion. Arise and shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people, but the Lord shall arise upon thee. We see that. He already done risen upon us. That's what this whole movement is about, this awakening. And his glory shall be seen upon thee, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and the kings up to thy brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see. Lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together, they come to thee. Thy sons shall come from afar, and thy daughters shall be nursed from thy side. So this is where we at. We over here, far away from our land, right? And we going back. We already started. So he says, 5, then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear, be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. That's what we're looking at. He said the abundance of the sea. What's the abundance of the sea? The container ships. Everything that makes the world go around is on these container ships. We see right, they being jacked up. He said he's gonna convert that to us. We're looking right at it. Like I said before, when Joseph told our forefathers that the Lord was gonna come back and get them out of Egypt, they ain't had no idea how he was gonna do it. Then all of a sudden Moses showed up, and then next thing you know, they standing on the other side of the Red Sea, and they see the water close in on Pharaoh. You couldn't have told them that 10, 20 years before that. They had no idea he was gonna do Pharaoh the way he did it. They ain't know nobody was capable of doing a Pharaoh like that. Just like now, when you looked at with racism and white supremacy and all that happened to us over here, you couldn't see that, you couldn't see was nobody capable of doing these white folks. But guess what? You're finna see them. If somebody coming that's gonna do them. And just like our forefathers, you're gonna be sitting there with your mouth open, stunned, because it's already started. Okay. So, with that, anybody got any comments or anything they want to say?
That makes sense why Kissinger is coming out of the woodworks that can't have, see, nor hear or walk. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they did this before. They did all this before. It just was another group of Edomites. that came in during the World War II and World War One. Matter of fact, when Napoleon, they brought Napoleon on the scene and brought all that destruction. Then Napoleon got beside himself. They had to come together and cut him off. And they cut him off at Waterloo. And then guess what? They came out and told everybody that Napoleon had won. And it caused the stock market to crash. They came in, bought all the wealth of the world up, and then found out that Napoleon had got killed. But now they didn't bought everything up for pennies on a dollar. So they same group. It's just their descendants doing it. They're trying to do the same thing again. But like I said before, they not factoring in. The fact is, they disregarding the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and what He capable of doing. They got plans, like the Pharaoh had plans. Right? You see them, they're getting shut down. It ain't. If you're looking around and paying attention, it's not business as usual. Most High, like David said, he didn't raised up out of his habitation. We seeing manifestations of Him. Yeah. Okay. So, with that being said, I gotta I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody got anything about they want to talk about or they heard on on our discussions on Clubhouse or during the week, during our classes or whatever? You got anything you want to bring up or talk about? Okay, well, I'm gonna play some of this. It's about this pertaining to the origins of Christianity. Some more information. Okay.
Except that He, that is Jesus, foretold that after death He would rise again. How many others produce wonders like this to convince simple hearers? They say that Orpheus did.
I got to interject this before I start playing this. So I'm showing you it's a group of Edomites, a contingent. It's a group of people that concocted the New Testament. It's a group of people in at the end of World War II that made the agreement to get the land of Israel back. We see it's a group now coming out. That's what people don't understand. When you see JC, it's a group of Edomites concocted him. And everything he's saying, the group saying, but they're using this figure to hide behind. But they the ones saying all that. Everything he's being said and read, they saying it. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Did this among the Adrisians, and Protesilas, and Thessaly, and Heracles, and Tanarum, and Theseus. Or do you think that the stories of these others really are myths? Which they appear to be, and yet the ending of your tragedy is to be regarded as noble and convincing? His cry from the cross when he expired, the earthquake and the darkness? While he was alive, he did not help himself, but after death he rose again and showed the marks of his punishment and how his hands had been pierced. But who saw this? A hysterical female, as you say? And perhaps some other one of those who were deluded by the same sorcery, who either dreamed in a certain state of mind and through wishful thinking had a hallucination due to some mistaken notion, an experience which has happened to thousands. He is one of our first witnesses to a reader, a critical, truly critical reader of the Gospels who did not take them his history, but as fantastical tales, as he calls myths. He knows the Logos theology, and he's very familiar with the distinctive story of Matthew's dream visions by angels and the genealogy and Herod and the children, that's all distinctly Matthean material. For Celsus, he believed that there was an ancient doctrine known by all ancient peoples, including the Egyptians and the Jews, but that this doctrine, what he calls the Aletheis Logos, the true doctrine, was perfected and refined by the Greeks. And Christianity, because it's a break-off movement from Judaism, represents a degradation of the ancient doctrine.
Welcome back to the Gnostic Informant, and you are about to attain true gnosis. And I'm with my favorite scholar, M. David Litwa, PhD at University of Virginia, and then Master of Divinity at Emory University. You have wrote numerous books on these subjects. The most recent is Found Christianity, which is a must read. And if you want, you can get a discount on the book if you join the Patreon. Now, this Patreon has locked videos that you cannot get on YouTube that are only exclusive right here on.
It's a lot of feedback.
Okay, hold up.
Patreon. It is the most valuable resource for digging into the
If you mute your mic, will that help?
I think origins,
non-commodity tax, Gnostic.
Okay, I didn't mute the mic.
Stuff. It's the one-stop shop for all of that. And welcome. I'm David Litwa to Gnostic Informant.
Great, glad to be here, Neil. It's good to be back, and hello, everyone. Today we'll be looking at hopefully a figure that is of interest to many of you, and that is the figure of Celsus. And Celsus is important because he is the earliest full-scale critic of Christianity. And I have a basic thesis about Celsus. I think that every argument that has been made against Christianity in all of time since Christianity appeared on the scene is foreshadowed by something which Celsus said. And there's many things that Celsus said that, in fact, he says better than modern critics of Christianity. Wow. So in a sense, yeah, he's the Christopher Hitchens of antiquity, or he has been called the Voltaire of antiquity. And it's a wild ride. Now, your access point to get to Celsus, though, is through Origen. And Origen writes a full-scale 8-book critique of Celsus called Against Celsus, okay? And, or you'll see it sometimes in the Latin as Contra Celsum. And in that work, Celsus is preserved verbatim, probably about 70 to 80%, because Origen just goes through line by line and tells you, here's what Celsus says, and here's my refutation. And one of the glorious things about reading this is you don't have to read all of Origen. You know, it's a pretty thick book. You can just pick out more or less what Celsus says. But one of the fun things about reading it with Origen is, you know, even today, one can see that sometimes Celsus even sounds better than Origen's refutation. It's far up until, you know, about probably the late 130s. But Arian, who died around 160, is the one who wrote up the lectures of Epictetus. And so if you get a copy of the Discourses of Epictetus, these are written by Arian, and Arian died later. So probably Celsus is aware of something that's written in the 140s or 150s. And then he says that he also wrote during a time when multiple emperors reigned. And that gives us two options. Either Marcus Aurelius is reigning with his younger co-emperor between 161 and 169, or Marcus is reigning with his son called Commodus, and that would be between 177 and 180. And most scholars choose the latter date. So
yeah, okay. So what reason I'm showing you this is that I was talking about this. I keep talking about this. I got videos on this, especially it's one of those non-Messianic conversations about Buddhism and how that came about. That's what Marcus Aurelius was, the guy he just brought up. But anyway, the name of this video is Celsius, the Hitchens before the Hitchens. That's Hitcceens. So I told you about Cerinthius. See, nobody know about these memes. So these Edomites, just like Kissinger and Soros. And you can look and see they degenerates. They degenerates. They just got all of they didn't corner the wealth of the world through wickedness. But they degenerates. So that's what these people is, and they telling you flat out. Like I said, you trying to get to the truth. This is where the truth is. You know, like the man said, they homosexual. So that's who the Greeks was. So that's degenerate. And so you can't look at that and say that you're not gonna deal with it. They had the truth. They said on the truth. They the ones that hoodwinked the scripture. So Cerinthius is John. We found out last night what Lucifer's real name is. See what I'm saying? So they didn't hoodwink us. That's what I'm saying about scholarship. You can't run and talk about scholarship because these Edomites, the scholarship you run into, they set it up. They created it. And they're giving you different definitions. I showed you where people of wickedness in 2 Samuel. There's not that wickedness he talking about. Ain't no wickedness from not keeping the Tanakh or not keeping the law. That wickedness is from Lucifer. He slept with Eve and got Cain. Cain got a lineage. They wicked as hell. They ain't gonna never do right. They didn't come. The spirit that's in them didn't come from Yahweh. You know, and so you got you thinking something else. So when you start talking about scholarship, they didn't create this whole world of scholarship. They didn't create it to fit around all the lies they didn't told. So you gotta come from another route to get it, to find your way into this information about who the Most High is. So like I said, Cerinthius is John. So if you're trying to find out who the hell John is, go look up Cerinthius. Go look this guy up right here, Celsius. Like I said, in the New Testament, John said that it was a centurion by the name of, can't think his name, but he got ISUS on the end of it. ISUS, that's a lineage, a wicked ass men, a wicked ass family. So what he's telling you all of a sudden is that he done brought in these people until he saw the spirit. John said, Peter, whoever, said he saw the spirit fall on them, on the centurion, and his name, he's out of lineage of these same people right here. Say he saw the spirit fall on them because you ignorant to the fact of how all that was laid out. You thinking it's, you're not looking at what they actually telling you. So he's saying all of a sudden, the spirit of the Most High fell on these wicked ass people. That's what he's telling you. And like I said, these same people came into Egypt. He conquered Egypt after Alexander died. And he made them, Ptolemy made Alexandria, made the people in Memphis at the temple turned him into a god. So they couldn't call him Osiris. So Osiris is god of the underworld. Hades, hell, that's who Cyrus is god of. So they couldn't make him Osiris, so they made him Serapis. He's the god of the underworld. But he's a Greek. So guess what? They went to the Council of Nicaea years later with Constantine, and they made that same image, Serapis, Jesus the Christ. Serapis is god of the underworld. So, like I said, I'm just jumping y'all. You can go do the research. Don't take my word for it. So that's what they done. They gave you a whole nother scholarship for to fit what they've done. They done flipped everything upside down. You have to understand it. So, anybody got any comments, anything before I go? I'm gonna read Zechariah chapter 12 and 14. And this the reason I'm reading them is we had a conversation last night on Clubhouse about how the Most High in Ezekiel 37 is going to raise up all our forefathers out of their graves. He promised them that. I'm gonna read that, and then I'm gonna jump off of that and show you line-upon line that it's all working together. So I'm in Ezekiel 37. And like I said, this gonna show you too what I mean by they gave you the understanding of what they want you to understand or what it means, but that ain't what it means. So I'm in Ezekiel right quick. Okay. So Ezekiel 37 says right here. I'm just going to read the first part of it, then I'm going to go to the end, to the other part, the last part of it. So it says in the very first part, the hand of the Lord was upon me. Verse 1, Ezekiel 37:1. The hand of the Lord was upon me, carried me out into the spirit of the Lord, set me down in the midst of a valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there was very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered and said, O Lord, thou knowest. And again he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. And thus says the Lord God to these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter in you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you. Okay, let me get it. Let's see, my papers are all messed up. Okay, here you go. It says, I will lay sinews upon you, and bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking. Bone came together, bone into his bone. So contrary to what they done told you, they get off the topic and go trying to give you the definition of what it's saying, but all you have to do is read what's being conveyed to you. So, 8, and when I beheld, lo, the sinew and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them from above, but there was no breath in them. So what he's telling you right here, he done raised those bones, and when you person died, they put them in the grave, they flesh consume off of the body. And then the only thing that's left is to show you that a person was there with the bones. And so what he just told you, he's gonna put the flesh back on it. He's gonna do reverse osmosis and put the flesh back on it, but ain't no spirit in them. Because all the spirits that was in these bodies was taken back up to where they came from, back to heaven. Then verse 9, then said he unto me, prophesy to the wind, right? That's what they need. Wind, where the spirit come from. Prophesy, son of man, and say unto the wind, thus says the Lord God, come from the 4 winds. That's these 4 angels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. They're the ones that ascended, took these spirits back to heaven. They're the ones brought them down at conception. So it says, so I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. So contrary to the narrative that engaged you, what we're looking at is he resurrected our forefathers, and it's their army. Ain't but one thing you can do with an army. You know, when you get an army, we see what Julius Caesar did when they gave him a legion. And Pompey, they gave him 2, 3 legions. We saw what he did with it. It's an army. And but one thing you do with an army. So anyway, so we're going to keep going. And it says, therefore, this verse 12, therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus says the Lord God, behold, O my people, Israel, I will open up your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves, and I will bring you into the land of Israel, right? And ye shall know that I am the Lord when I have opened your graves, O my people, and have brought you up out of your graves. And I shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and performed it, said the Lord. So let's look at it. So we know Esau has been prophesied. He got to judge Esau for what Esau done to Israel. So we know Esau is posted up right now in the land of Israel. So when you read Ezekiel 37, verse 10, he done raised the army up. So guess where the army going? Verse 12, therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus says the Lord God, behold, O my people, I will open up your graves, cause you to come up out of your graves, and I will bring you into the land of Israel. So he's taking an army, he's resurrecting an army, and he's taking them to Israel. And guess what? Our enemy is there. So now, with that being said, now let's look at and see what, I'm going to read Zechariah chapter 12 and Zechariah 14 and see if it don't make any sense. Okay? So, I'm in Zechariah. Contrary to what these Edomites and these rabbis have told you. So, this verse chapter 12 of Zechariah, based on what we just read, what we know. The burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, says the Lord, which stretcheth forth the heavens, laid the foundation of the earth, formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut into pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered against it. So how they going to be cut in pieces? He done resurrected the army and brought the army there. So it ain't business as usual, no more. You got an army he done brought there, right? 4, in that day, saith the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and the riders with madness, and I will open my eyes to the house of Judah, and I will smite every horse of the people with blindness, and the governors of Judah, the kings, and 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, all of David's descendants. The kings of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, in the Lord of hosts, their God. In that day will I make the kings of Judah like a heath of fire, see that? Among the wood, like a torch of fire in the sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. So this army gonna, in that day, this army he resurrected in Ezekiel 37 is gonna, they're gonna devour everything around Jerusalem, round about it on the right hand and on the left. 7, and the Lord also shall say to the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. And in that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them in that day shall be as David. So that's us. We're going to be like David was. David was a mighty man, but our forefathers that he resurrected, and the house of David, as all of David's descendants that sit on his throne, shall be as God. So who is this God? Israel, the angel of the Lord. And we know when Moses came to the mountain, the angel lit on the bush in the form of a fire. 10, and I will pour out when I will pour upon the house of David, that's these kings, and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the spirit of grace and supplication, and they shall look upon me, whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him, as one mourning for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. So let's look at it. We know right here, JC ain't in this conversation. He ain't talking. So it's the Lord of hosts talking. So let's pick it up again in verse 10. I, it's the Lord of hosts. And I, it's the Lord of hosts, will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication. And they, that's these people in the resurrection, shall look upon me, right? That's the Lord of hosts, whom they have pierced, denigrated, took away his robe, and they shall mourn for him, David. I'm going to show you that in a minute. How did I get David? As one mourning for his only son, and he shall be in bitterness for him, that's David, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. Then he go, this is how we know it's David. In verse 11, in that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hemagan in the valley of Megiddo. This is when they was mourning for Josiah, when Josiah got shot with an arrow and killed. And they brought him back to Jerusalem and he died. They mourned for him. So 12, and the land shall mourn, every family apart, family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart. They are supposed to be dead right here. You know what I'm saying? But he just said, and the land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David. That's because he done resurrected them. And their wives apart, and the family of the house of Nathan. See that? Nathan apart. Nathan dead. See that? So he says, and Nathan, who is Nathan? Let's go look at it. 2 Samuel, right quick. 2 Samuel chapter 7. We're in verse 1. It came to pass when the king sat in his house, David, and the Lord had given him rest round about from all his enemies, that the king said to Nathan, there go Nathan right there. This way back in 2 Samuel. See that? So we see over here, he done resurrected Nathan. Said the family of the house of Nathan apart. He resurrected Nathan because he done resurrected David. See that? And their wives apart. The family of the house of Levi dead. Right? And their wives apart. The family of Shema apart. And their wives apart. Who is this guy right here? I might not be saying his name right. This the guy threw the stones at David when he fled from Absalom and was crossing the Jordan. He threw stones at David and cursed David. So all these people right here have been resurrected. See that? The family of that and the families that remain, every family apart and their wives apart. And notice they mourning. They mourning because they're looking at David. Okay? So I'm just throwing another golden nugget in there. I'm gonna read 13 because it says, this is the cleansing of Jerusalem, right? It says, the title says the cleansing of Jerusalem. So what cleansing? Ezekiel 37. Let's look at it. Let me get it. Ezekiel 37 says, okay, 37 says in, let me read it. It says in Ezekiel 37, verse 15, the word of the Lord came again unto me, moreover, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, write upon it for Judah and the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph and the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel's companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, thus says the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and put them in with them, even the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hand. And the stick that whereon thou writest shall be in thy hand before thine eyes, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king over them all, and they shall no more be two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols or with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and I will cleanse them. See, I read all that to read this. And I will cleanse them. Right? And so shall they be my people, and I will be their God. So we got to cleanse them. So now I'm in Zechariah chapter 13, the cleansing of Jerusalem. In that day, there shall be a fountain open to the house of David. That's the kings, all out of lineage of David, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall come to pass that, said the Lord of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall no more be remembered. And also I shall call the prophets and the unclean spirits to pass out of the land. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, then his father and his mother that begot him shall say unto him, thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of the Lord. And his father and his mother that begot him shall thrust them through when he prophesied. So what we looking at? Well, when they came out of Egypt, didn't they do the same thing? What he did? You dead Israelites all over the place, from Egypt all the way to the land of Canaan. The foolishness was over with. So you see right here it says, and it shall come to pass, verse 3, that when any shall yet prophesy lies, right? Then his father and his mother that begot him shall say unto him, thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of the Lord. And his father and his mother that begot him shall thrust him through when he prophesied. So guess what? It's Christianity, right? And it shall come to pass in that day that the prophet shall be ashamed. See that? Every one of his vision. And when he have prophesied, neither shall they wear a rough garment to the sea, right? So they wear rough garments to the sea, right? So go to John the Baptist, what he had on, right? But he shall say, I am no prophet. I am a husbandman, for man taught me to keep cattle from my youth. And one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thy hand? Then he shall answer, these are those with I was wounded in the house of my friends. 7, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the men that is my fellow, said the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn my hand upon the little ones, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, says the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd part shall be left therein, and I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried, and they shall come, call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. So that's the cleansing that he's talking about in Ezekiel 37. And I'm going to read this chapter 14. This is the last chapter of Zechariah. It says, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, right? So he bringing all the nations, what we just read in 2nd Ezra, to the Israel to battle with who? The army. That's in Ezekiel 37. That's the purpose of the army. And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth, fight against those nations, and when he fight in that day of battle, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall be removed toward the north, and the other half toward the south. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach even unto Azar. Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with him. Right? It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In the summer and in the winter shall it be. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. And in that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. And the land shall be turned as a plain from Gibor to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in a place from Benjamin gate into the place where the first gate, into the corner gate, and from the tower of Haniel unto the king's wine press. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold everyone on the hands of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathens round about shall be gathered. This is what we just read in 60. He's going to convert the forces of the Gentiles into us. Gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. This ain't nothing new. Did this in Babylon. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents, as this plague. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt, and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. In that day shall there be upon the bells of horses holiness unto the Lord, and the pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and see therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Okay. Any comments on that before we close out? Anybody got any comments? Let's see what we got out here. Okay. Okay, yeah. I already did that. Okay, what's up, Bruce? Okay. Nobody have any comments? Everybody good? Okay, yeah. So like I said, we had went over this last night, and so I was just coming back with some reinforcement to make sure that what was being conveyed was being conveyed. And so because of, like I said, we at that point where this stuff is manifesting right in front of our face, you know, and it's gonna continue to manifest. It ain't gonna stop because it's that time. So Nobody else have anything else to say about that. Like I said, do some more research on Celsius, Celesus, and then do some research on Cerinthius. You know, like I said, it's only going to strengthen your conversation when you get into a conversation with other people, because we know how those Christians are. You know, they just ain't getting it. Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom.
Shalom.